Hey everyone, happy Wednesday, I believe. Today I'm on YouTube answering some questions and I'm just getting showered. I'm going out to have dinner and drinks with some friends, so I'm gonna try to make this quick, okay? So, my computer is right here. Okay, so first question, and I'm not gonna tell you who these questions came from because I don't know if they really would want me to, because a lot of these are from my inbox, and so I want to make sure that I'm, holding people's privacy. So the first question, and I get this question a lot, so these are kind of the reason that I pick these if they're asked by a bunch of different people. And the first question is, do I tell my therapist what I'm really thinking? The question that I actually received had to do with kind of wanting to self-harm and suicidal ideation and the thoughts that she had about that, and how do I really tell my therapist, and should I? And the short answer is yes, please tell your therapist. That's what you pay us for. That's what I come and show up and listen for. So you can tell me the icky and the embarrassing and the terrible and things that you judge yourself about, because I'm supposed to listen. I'm supposed to make you feel heard and understood and not judged. And then I'm going to work with you on it. What do we do now? Okay, now that we've talked about this, what's our next step? Okay? So that is definitely something I would share. And the best way, if you get really uncomfortable in person talking about it, I would definitely say something to the effect of, there's something that I really struggle to talk to you about. Can I write it down and bring it in? Or can I email you? Is that okay? A lot of therapists will allow that as long as you know that they won't necessarily reply. I always tell my clients, you can email me. I won't reply between sessions, but I will definitely print it out and I'll bring it into session and we can talk about it. So those are definitely some options and things. And you can leave your comments below if you've done something that's helped, like, hey, I wrote it down and that was really helpful for this reason, or something that I do to help myself talk about it. Let us know, because we can all help one another, right? Now, the second question is talking about my past abuse. Where do I start? And that can be really hard. And unfortunately, we do have to talk about it. And I know many of you have told me, do I really have to talk about all the details and I really have to go through it? I don't really want to do that. We do. And a lot of research in the world of psychiatry and therapy shows us that through talking it out, we actually heal and we're able to move on. And I know it's hard at first, and it can increase our flashbacks, and it can increase our dissociation, our PTSD-like symptoms. If you don't know what dissociation is or PTSD, I've done videos on both those topics, so you can search my channel for those. But we do have to talk about it, and I guess where to start is when you feel safe. Find a therapist you feel safe with, and it depends on what's best for you. It kind of goes back to, how do I tell my therapist what I'm really thinking? You can write it down, you can email, you can start the conversation off by saying, something happened to me when I'm younger and I have a lot of trouble talking about it. And that can be the first step. And if they ask a question and you're not ready to answer, you can say, I need to take it slower than that. I'm not ready to answer. And I've had many clients say that, I'm just not ready to answer yet. And I'll say, okay, but know that I'm here and I will ask you a little bit about this next week if that's okay. And I'll get your approval that it's okay. And then we'll talk about whether you can, journal more later or bring it in, and we'll try to see what's okay with you. So take your time. We understand it's difficult. These are things oftentimes we haven't talked about for, 10 years or 20 years. Who knows? It could be a really long time, okay? So that's that. Another good question that I had, and I will do more videos about bipolar disorder, because I know that when I did my main video about it, it was just kind of like, this is what it is, and these are the different types, and I had all my little, my zigzaggies. But this person had a really good question. She asked, can mania present as kind of like a panic disorder-like feeling, or is it always that happy high? Now, pure mania is that happy high. Something that I didn't talk about in my bipolar video very much, I don't even know if I did it all. I don't think I did it all, but is a mixed episode. Now, that is when we feel very panicky and we can feel really uncomfortable. And they call them mixed because it's almost like depression and mania at the same time. So we have a lot of energy, but we don't feel very good. And it can feel extremely uncomfortable and almost panicky. Like we have this inner tension going and these ruminating thoughts, everything's running really fast. but we feel really bad about ourselves at the same time. In mania, we actually feel really good about ourselves, often have like a heightened sense of self, and we're like, nothing's going to hurt me today. I'm amazing, So my guess would be that panicky feeling, if you are diagnosed with bipolar 1, is that you're experiencing a mixed episode. And you can Google these, you can look them up. Like I said, I'll do more videos on it, so stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to my channel because I'll cover that in later videos. And I hope that answers that for now. Now the next question, I have two more. Is talking about this to our parents easier when we don't live at home? Now, this was a question I also received in my YouTube inbox, and this person was just talking about struggling with the eating disorder and how hard it is to talk about it, and wondering if she should wait until she moves away to college because she's doing that soon. It can be. Definitely, because we don't have to run into them every day. I know that sounds really silly, but being around people when we're talking about it can be really hard. And often, something that I think we don't realize as the people who suffer is that for the people around us, like our parents, they can often go through their own struggles, accepting the fact that we're struggling and we have an eating disorder or self-harm or depression or anxiety or whatever. They almost need their own time to kind of digest the information and process it and realize, okay, that's what's happening. These are ways I can help. And oftentimes they'll blame themselves. And it depends on what our parents are like. Everybody's parent's different. Every person is different, right? So no wonder everybody's parent is different. But that is why it really can be easier when we're not at home, because we're kind of giving them that space and that time to think about it, digest it themselves, process through it in their own time. Maybe amongst themselves, your parents are still together. They can talk about it. And then they can oftentimes be more supportive, and it's easier to cope. So yes, and in some ways maybe no, because we might end up putting it off more. We might not want to talk about it fully. We might not feel like we actually got through it all because it was just on the phone, and it might feel not as well processed, and like we didn't take the appropriate time. So as long as you make sure that those things are in place, I would say that it probably is easier if you can. Now, the last question, this is a great question, and this comes from a question from one of my followers that I talk to a lot on all of my sites, and her question was, what do you do if you were abused, or you might not even know if you were abused, or if it was sexually, physically, what really happened, but you know that something happened, and you yourself struggle with PTSD-like symptoms from it, but you don't want something else to happen to someone else. So you don't know what you can do to like protect others. So let's say it was a neighbor we think that harmed us, and we don't know if there's other kids that now live where you used to live who they could be harming again. And what do you do? And I can only speak for the state of California and to some extent the United States, because we tend to be very similar in the States. As far as other countries, if any of you have information and you've gone through this, please let us know, because I know it can differ from state to state and definitely from country to country. But in California, if you are over 18 and you are telling me as a therapist that you have been abused in the past, it cannot be reported. And unfortunately, just because something happened to us and that person may still live around children, they have decided in the state of California that that isn't probable cause for us to report that person, and we actually can't take any legal ramifications for them. So I think the best thing that we can do, because I know it feels so good to actually do something versus feel like you're sitting there and we don't know, and it can make us, drive us crazy, is to potentially start a group in your area for people who struggle with past abuse, or get involved in the local schools, and you can, put together a little speech that you give, and they can do, when we go to like assembly, we used to call it, when you go to have an assembly and you go to the gym and you could speak about what happened, and it's important to speak up, and we can raise awareness, which is kind of what I'm trying to do here. So if you have been abused and you're under 18, I would encourage you to report it. Please, please, please. I know a lot of the people that tend to hurt us are people in our family and our friends of our family, and it's really hard. But if anything, if you can't do it for yourself, sometimes it can help to know that you may save someone else from having that happen to them. It could be a younger sibling. It could be someone you don't know that is just a little girl or a little boy. And so I would encourage you to speak up. But unfortunately, and I'm sorry that my answer doesn't feel better, but sometimes we can give back in other ways. So I would encourage you to do that. And also, if you've been abused as a child, that Courage to Heal workbook that is on my website in my Amazon widget, please check it out. Please grab a copy. It is so wonderful. And I will be doing some videos on that workbook slowly but surely so that you can get help. Sometimes it helps to have someone walk you through it if you don't currently have a therapist. But I know the person that asked this question does have a therapist, but that's definitely something that we can look into and something that we can work on. So I hope those questions and answers were helpful. And I wanted to, and I'm going to do this really quick, go onto my Facebook page, because I had you all doing a commenting or giving a caption contest. And if I can get through to this, here it is. Here's the caption contest. Okay, and I thought they were all amazing, so I'm just going to rattle off some. And these are just really funny. From ALN. What? How can you say Dr. Avery isn't hot? That's very true. Just May said it's hard to get work and personal life balance, right? Very funny as well. Lauren Myers, where are all my minions at? Which I'm really looking forward to Despicable Me too. I don't know about you, and I need to get my hands on some minions. Amy Hetherington, when professionals start using all these fancy terms to describe what's wrong with you, and you're sat there like bleep, aka what the, right? Why did you show me your blue waffle? I mean, what? And then Jamie Lacey Rocket. I don't know where all these questions are coming from. Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, Facebook. When did I get so popular? So great job on the captions, guys. I loved it. They were hilarious. And there are probably more, but it won't let me scroll down. So anyway, thank you so much for adding those. I got those in my email, and it just made me really giggle. So I'm going to put some makeup on and put some real pants on because I have pajama pants on, but you can't see it. So sneaky. And I'm going to head out for dinner. So I hope you all have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.